So, I have been having some really interesting conversations with my roommate, and I decided to make little videos about what I'm sharing with her. And I know some people are going to get turned on, some people are going to get turned off. Part of this is why I'm doing my documentary. Um, but let's start with one piece of information that we were just discussing. And I was watching this video about DAOs. I don't know if it's DAOS or DOWS, but basically the DAO culture has really kept track of and is like a record keeper of old knowledge. And I'm definitely going to go visit one of these temples when I can. Please donate to the documentary. I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but I kind of have a process that I need to go through. But we'll talk about that at the end. So the Tao say that there are 5 major organs in the body, and that they're all related to illnesses, and that they all are also related to emotions. So basically, we're electrical beings. And the energy center is the stomach, the digestive area. That's like the battery. So the reason that a lot of disease comes is because of what's going on in your battery. It's not charging, it's empty, and a lot of the main cause of it is the GMO modified food that we're eating, sugar, fluoride in the water, a bunch of other things that are affecting how our organs are supposed to work. So you know how they say your body is a temple? Well, it is. It's a temple of your soul. It's a temple of where the source of everything comes from. So a lot of people are suffering from leaky gut lately. I know my gut is huge, and I used to be so super skinny and thin, and some people say it's called pounds of pain. And what he was saying is there's a reason that they say your heart is where love is. You never thought about like where it comes from. And he was saying the heart is where you store love and hate. That's why they say there's a thin line between love and hate. So all of these phrases are really codes, and they're knowledge that's being spread out, but you don't realize it because we just use it in colloquial language. We're not really aware of where this stems from, but it stems from the fact that these people have discovered that your body is a machine, and it's up to us to keep it well oiled. And corporate America has done everything in their power to make sure that we die, because they don't believe in climate change. They believe that there are just too many people in the world, and if we get rid of some of the people in the world will rebalance itself, and then we can live well, and then they can continue dividing, society between the rich and the poor, because they don't want a middle class. They want to be able to either control you, or you can kind of be an elite, but not necessarily one of the 2%. And there's another video that I'm going to make about why there are 2%. So they put GMO, they genetically modified our food. They genetically modified the food that the animals eat, therefore modifying the animals. So we're eating the animals who are then modified or eating modified food, and that's affecting us. We're not supposed to be eating grains and corn. I know the indigenous Americans did that, but we're not in general supposed to be eating that food. That's only something that came about 8,000 or 10,000 years ago. We should be eating the food of our ancestors, which is wild game. The interesting thing is that the only way that Americans, or rather Europeans, were able to defeat the indigenous people is by going after their main staple food source. In this case, it was the buffalo. So I'm just like, can't believe I'm getting so deep into this. So they massacred and killed millions of buffalo so that the Native Americans had to rely on them for food. They killed a lot of their sources, like the cornfields and anything that they needed. They massacred millions of indigenous people all over the world. They killed their food supply. The buffalo were roaming wildly. And when you are what you eat, literally. So if you eat a wild animal, you have the spirit of the animal. The thing that I think is amazing is that indigenous people aren't savages. They're actually more mindful, aware, and awake than we will ever be. We can't even catch up to what they've already learned and what they have in their hearts and in their spirit and in their culture. So the point of the documentary is to go out there and show how more advanced they are than we are. The reason we know what we know is because we learned it from them, and that the elite have chosen to keep this information secret, and they don't want to share it with the world. So you have 5 major organs: your heart, your stomach, your intestines, your spleen, and your kidneys. And if you can keep those things clean, you will never have disease. Obviously, if you get bitten by a snake and there's venom, you can't really do anything. Those are external factors, but internal disease, it will cease to exist. And a lot of people are saying that everything stems from the gut. There's a reason that your chi and your power center is in your stomach. There's a reason that the chakra system says that your power is in your stomach. And, they call it chi, prana, life force, energy, whatever you want to call it, it's in your stomach. So they attacked us in the stomach. After World War II, there was a lot of experiments done by the Nazis on the Jews, right? That's a fact. If anybody tries to tell you it never happened, don't listen to them. It's true. In doing so, they tested fluoride on them, which is why they started adding fluoride in America in the water, because they wanted to control the population. They started making the food pyramid, which included grains being a big portion of it, because grains are not easily digestible by the body. It actually rejects it and causes disease. Okay? And then they also, oh my God, what did I tell her? It'll come up, but I can't remember. There was a third thing that they did. They added sugar to everything, because they saw that sugar caused diabetes. It caused the increase in your insulin, and it's the increase in the insulin that makes it impossible for you to lose weight. So until you can control that insulin level, you will never lose weight, which is why some people are severely obese no matter what they do. They could run miles, they could eat healthy, but because there's something in their diet that increases the insulin level, they'll never lose the weight. So you need to be able to stabilize your insulin level, which is what the ketogenic diet is about. But the ketogenic diet is still very high in fat. So if you can do like an Atkins thing where you're kind of like on a keto but with less fat, you'll be able to work that out if you have fat. But still, the ketogenic diet is very good, especially for people with diabetes, because it helps to stabilize your blood level. So your sugar level. Sorry, I'm gonna make some errors every now and then, because I haven't really made videos on a consistent basis in a while. And it's just been a long process for me. So my sincerest apologies, but I'm getting back on track. Whew. So what I've learned is that when you can keep these organs intact, you will find more peace of mind, and you will be at peace, and you will have an energy that will flow with the universe. You can find more connection with your intuition. If you guys have been watching any of my videos, you know I'm getting into crystal healing. I've finished Reiki 1. I have always been intuitive and have had, really interesting experiences throughout the course of my life. I know when somebody's lying. I'm like a human lie detector without ever meeting them. Just know. And I think that a lot of people of culture have a lot of intuition because it's been passed down from DNA, and there is something in the DNA. And I feel like indigenous DNA is far more superior than other DNA, because they have connected with the earth and the stars and the sky and the universe, and they understand how things work. We found an equilibrium and a balance, and civilization has actually caused the imbalance that is causing the turmoil that we live in today. Now, I'm not saying we should all go back into, to living like indigenous people off the land, although that would be ideal. I'm going to make another video about all that. But it would be interesting to at least acknowledge that they're not savages, these indigenous people. They're actually brilliant. The thing that divides us is communication and the fact that people live in different regions. And that's another thing when it comes to diet. When it comes to diet, not everything's going to work for us. So many people are like, oh, Garcinia Cambogia, it's going to make you lose weight. Well, if you're not ethnic, and you're not accustomed to eating the type of food that Brazilians or South Americans would eat, you're probably not going to fare well with Garcinia Cambogia. Just like a lot of people like castor oil or cod liver oil, that makes me sick, because I feel like that's more of a Nordic thing. That's something that the Europeans are more accustomed to. Some people don't fare well with eating olive oil, which is a staple for the Mediterranean culture. Some people don't fare well with eating rice, which a lot of Asians and Hispanics are very comfortable eating. So when you look at these diets that are fads, you need to understand that you need to eat the diet of your ancestors, whether you're adopted, whether you, like my parents are Dominican, and I'm here and I was first generation American. I need to go and eat the food of my ancestors because that's what my body is going to accept, as opposed to what I've been eating here as an American, which is messing me up. When I used to just eat what my mom made, when I was living with my mother, I was always skinny and thin. I never gained weight. I was a little chubby when I was a kid, but once I turned 13, it was like model, literally. And I looked at it like, okay, I never thought I was going to be fat. I was like, I'm never going to be a size 10. Like, I'm never going to be that big. And now, like, I went up to a size 18, 20, and now I'm a size 16, working my way down because I'm starting to understand how everything is working. Fasting, if you look at fasting, every culture fasts. The Muslims, the Jews, the Greeks, the Indians. There's something about fasting we need to take seriously. It's not something that Americans teach their kids unless they're part of some of those cultures or other cultures that practice fasting. But fasting is integral to resetting your entire system and making sure that everything is working properly, and that you also appreciate nature and humility. We were never meant to eat this much food. The amount of food that we eat on a daily basis is ridiculous. I personally am trying to start drinking more teas, which are extracts of actually dried herbs. And I try to get dried herbs and stuff from all over the world. So when I go on this documentary and I do this, I'm actually going to try and get different herbs and remedies and things from all over the world, but understanding that it's not necessarily going to work for everyone or myself, to be honest with you. But if I do come across somebody that would benefit from it, at least I have it. I would also like to start a subscription box in case any of you guys are interested, where if there is a small town where this is their major crop, it wouldn't be a huge, subscription number, but we would give you a box every month based on where I visit. You would get information of that culture, the lessons that we've learned from that culture, maybe an MP3 audio snippet so you could listen to the music from that culture, and then whatever it is that they make. Some people make beads, some people have teas, some people, they all have different things that they're good at. Obviously, the deep indigenous people aren't going to be making things for market, but there are people in Africa and South America that they do have like a way for them to profit, because half of them live on the grid while the other half live off the grid. The true indigenous ancestors, and then the other half that have actually acclimated to, society, but they create the wealth and the money that they need to get the resources that they need for the indigenous people, or to help protect them. So, the subscription box will be made where a portion of the profits will go to the indigenous culture from which we are getting, or the descendants of the indigenous culture from which we are getting these things. And then part of it will go to help maintain, as a donation, their quality of life or their ability to survive while their resources are being taken out of their land, which if you see the intro video to the indigenous documentary, you'll understand what I'm talking about. So the liver is where anger, frustration, and a bunch of other things lie. Just look up Tao. I'm not going to get into all of it because I still have to finish watching the video and taking better notes. But the 5 organs all have a purpose. The spleen they mentioned, and I thought it was interesting because there's an indigenous culture, I believe it's in Bali, might be Indonesia. I think it's the same thing, right? Where they, from a very young age, are taught to deep dive, and they automatically break their eardrums so that they can go deep underwater without gear. And since they're taught very young to start swimming underwater and holding their breath, they develop enlarged spleens. And what that does is when you're underwater, the spleen actually produces oxygen, and that people in this culture can stay underwater for 30 minutes. So they stay underwater for 30 minutes. They can deep dive up to 200 feet, probably more. God only knows. They're like mer people, mermen, mermaids. But they're humans. And, they also have another culture in the Himalayas, in Alaska, where they can be in -degree weather and they don't get frostbite because their bodies have adapted to that. They've acclimated through generations. So it's just really interesting what we're really capable of. We're unlimited, beings, and we limit ourselves because we're taught to limit ourselves. And I want to show the world that we shouldn't limit ourselves, that we're capable of so much more. But again, we shouldn't start doing this at like 30, 40, 50 years old, because these are things that you have to learn from a very early age. And some of it is genetically modified in your DNA. But I just want you to be aware that this does exist and that it is a possibility and that you should think differently, because there's so much more truth out there than we're being taught. They don't teach you these things in school. So there's, again, the reason that they say that, love is in the heart is because that's where it manifests. That's where you see the disease come out. When people have a disease of the heart, it could be aided by food, but a lot of the times it has to do with something that they feel about love, or maybe they're harboring hate or something of that nature. There is a way to heal everything without surgery. And I wish I had known this prior to getting anything done, but I was in a car accident, so there's nothing I could do. That was like literally physical damage that was done to me. But had I known that I could heal myself with certain exercises, with certain remedies, I might have chosen an alternative path, but I didn't know any better until after I had all this done, and then I started looking for alternative paths, and then I started understanding that there's different things to do. I still believe in modern medicine. I still believe you need to take antibiotics if you have bronchitis or pneumonia or something serious. I believe in painkillers if you're in excruciating pain, but not on a consistent basis. For example, when I had my knee surgery, I was in a lot of pain. I had to take painkillers for 5 days in a row because it was so horrible that I would just scream, writhing agony, screaming like a psycho in a psycho ward. Oh my God, it was horrible, the pain. But once that pain subsided, I stopped taking it because I understood that if I don't feel the pain, I won't know if I'm getting better. If I mask the pain with a painkiller on a consistent basis, I could be doing irreparable damage to my knee because I don't feel that the damage is being done. So it's more important for you to feel it and then work through the pain and understand that it's there. And if it's really bad, then of course take a painkiller. I don't want you to be in excruciating pain, but you need to know if you're getting better, because once that pain stops going, you stop feeling it, it's one of two things. Either you're getting better or your brain has the capacity to block certain signals so that you can survive. It's a survival mechanism. So you could have, that's why some people will be around horrible smells. They don't smell it anymore because the brain is like, I can't handle this. I have other things to process. This is not important. We're going to cut that off. You're no longer going to smell this. You're no longer going to feel that. You're no longer going to, that's not going to affect you because we have other things to process and do. This is minor, delete, and it reprograms the way that you react to things. It's really interesting. But now that we're getting to the 18-minute point mark, I want to stop. I'm going to keep watching the video and learning more about the Tao. Again, I'm making a documentary where I'm visiting all 6 continents. I would like to visit Antarctica too, if possible, just to see what's down there. And, are there indigenous people and what, there's something in Antarctica and I'm just dying to see what it is. But anyway, and meeting indigenous cultures and finding out how they use music, herbs, what rituals they do for the mind, the body, what their history of the world is, what message they have for the world, because I think it's important for us to listen to them, because at the end of the day, the meek will inherit the earth, and I believe it's these people. If the world were to end and there was a flood or something were to happen, these people are the people who are going to be able to survive. When I went to Morocco and I saw how they lived on the outskirts of Marrakesh, like the way Jesus lived. Like they still live that way, some of people. They still have like goats in the house and they kill it and they slaughter it. They have an oven made out of clay that they make their bread in. Everything is from scratch. They dress like they did back then. Like it's just, it's a little bit more modern, but if the world were to end, they would survive. We wouldn't survive without the comforts of, technology, and I would, because I'm a rare breed. And there's a lot of people that live in middle America and some other places, that would survive, that they know how to like hike and camp and, but I think that at some point they would crack, because it's one thing to do it for a weekend. It's another thing to do it for a lifetime. And I've prepared my mind to just like, if the world were to end, I have my, you know, my backpack ready to go. I was like, let's go. Let's find some fertile soil. Let's plant some seeds. You know, I think everybody should be stocking up on seeds, because if anything happens, the only way we're going to get, you know, food is if we have seeds to plant. So think about that. But I just wanted to share that with people. I know that my videos are a little far out there and I switch subjects a lot. I have a lot of information to share and give. And I think maybe in the future I'll start interviewing people, because that conversation, that flow back and forth, I feel is easier for people to process than me just like with the word vomit. But it's the glory of my channel. It's who I am. So get excited. I hope that some people learn something. Look up DAO. I think it's DAO, but in the video that I was watching, it said DOWS. I actually liked the video. So if you look at my liked videos, you'll see it. It's something called, let me see if I can find it.